All right, good afternoon. Well, at least it's afternoon here in the Phoenix metro area. And we have just gone live. So as you guys are coming in, I would love to see you comment in the sections where you're coming from, what market that you're serving, just so I can see who's here in the audience today joining us. The content that we're going to be covering today is all about bouncing back stronger and overcoming setbacks in real estate. That's a big topic. I don't typically do mindset calls, but I felt like this is something that we absolutely need as we are ending Q2. The idea of bouncing back stronger and overcoming setbacks in real estate really resonated with me. So as you come in, make sure you drop a comment if you're joining us from YouTube or from Facebook. I'd love to know where you're at. And also remember, your energy feeds my energy. I can't see any of you guys. So when you comment, it absolutely helps me. Oh, Valerie's here from San Diego. Valerie is one of our amazing team leaders. Always growing, always learning, always giving back to her community. One thing I can say about her is if you ever want to know what it's like to work with downsizers or people that are thinking about moving into assisted living, she's your girl. And we also have Antonio here. I love it. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. So as I mentioned, today we're talking all about bouncing back stronger and how to overcome setbacks in real estate. It's super mindset focused. And if you could take away one or two things today, that's kind of what I'm looking for. Because you got to remember that real estate, at some point, you're going to experience a setback in your career. Setbacks can be tough, right? You could have multiple setbacks in a day. And you just need to know that setbacks don't have to hold you back from achieving your goals. In fact, setbacks can often be the catalyst for growth and success. So I'm basically going to cover with you 5 ways that you can do this. Number 1 is pretty easy. Acknowledge where you're at. Like, take stock and say, okay, I'm frustrated. I'm upset. Maybe I'm even pissed off, right? But one thing that I love, I heard this in Tim Ferriss's podcast this week. He said, Seth Godin said, you get to choose your attitude, right? Think about that. Some of this stuff may be happening to you, right? Like, we can't control our sellers. We can't control our buyers. We definitely can't control the agent on the other side or their buyers or sellers. And that being said, it's okay to have some emotions and things like that, but you get to choose your attitude. So step number 1 is acknowledge where you're at. Give yourself permission to feel frustrated, upset, disappointed. Then have your 5-second funeral, your 5-minute funeral, your 30-minute funeral, whatever it is, have your funeral and move on, right? Acknowledge your feelings, understand that it's part of the process. And now we're going to get into the next 4 steps to help you move on. I do think it's important to just know that it's okay to be frustrated, right? But again, you get to choose your attitude. That's up to us. So step number 2 in overcoming objections or setbacks is to remember to encourage yourself. One of my favorite authors is James Clear. He's the author of Atomic Habits. And he has a quote that I feel really resonates with this topic. He says, be the coach that speaks to you like the athlete you want to be, rather than the one you might currently be, right? Like, telling yourself that you suck, that you're a loser, that I just can't do this, right? Like, talking to yourself like that is not going to help you come back stronger. It really isn't. So remember, be kind to yourself, right? Treat yourself with the same kindness and compassion and understanding that you would offer a friend going through the same type of thing. Avoid self-criticism, avoid negative self-talk, because that's actually going to hinder how fast you can bounce back and even how you handle other objections, right? So along that same part of encouraging yourself, engage in activities that bring you joy, right? Like, don't work 17 hours a day, 12 hours a day, and not give yourself the time that brings you joy, spending time with loved ones, those kind of things, because time spent on hobbies and activities and health can recharge you and help you regain the mental fortitude that you need and the emotional strength necessary to overcome setbacks, right? So practice some self-care. You also need to celebrate those small wins along the way. You got to remember and recognize where you came from. My health coach is always telling me, like, Christy, look what you've done. Look what you've done, right? Just remember, I love what James Clear also talks about, getting 1% better, right? Like, oftentimes as high achievers, we work so hard and we have really big goals. And when we don't hit the goal like we want to, we can get really down on ourselves. So it's important to celebrate those small wins, stack them up, find the wins, and just strive to get 1% better each day. If you do that, surround yourself with positive people too, right? Like, we all know and have been around people that are just energy sucking vampires, and they're so negative, and nobody wants to be around that. So when you're encouraging yourself, also remember, like, look around. Who are you with? Because what you focus on expands. If you get with a bunch of real estate agents that are just talking smack and they're just frustrated about the market and this, that, and the other, and everything's going bad, next thing you know, that's what you're seeing all the time. That's what you're looking for. So surround yourself with positive people. And then you've got to remember to encourage, learn from these setbacks instead of dwelling on them, right? Again, kind of really growth mindset. Instead of dwelling on these setbacks, view them as a valuable learning opportunity. We're going to actually go more into that. So step 2 is all about encouraging yourself and surrounding yourself with positive people. Now that we understand the importance of that, let's talk about the third step to overcoming setbacks, and that's to reframe, right? Take a step back. When setbacks occur, it's essential to reframe our perspective and our view, right? Because this can be a valuable learning opportunity. This process allows us to extract important lessons and insights that can help us become better equipped for future challenges. So as we reframe, I would remind you to embrace that growth mindset, right? One of my favorite books is Mindset by Carol Dweck. The quote that really gets me through setbacks from her book, she says, instead of viewing a setback as a failure or a personal shortcoming, see it as an opportunity for growth and investment, right? Just because a setback happened doesn't mean I suck, doesn't mean I failed. It's an opportunity for growth and improvement. Setbacks are not indicative of your worth or your potential, but rather are stepping stones on your journey towards success. So you need to reflect on that experience, right? When we're reframing, we need to take time to reflect about what happened. Go through what went wrong. Consider the factors of, like, was this under my control or was this outside of my influence? When you start to identify specific actions and strategies and circumstances that led to the thing that you're going through, this will allow you to gain insight so that you can then go to work, right? To turn a weakness into a strength and see where you can improve. As you take those lessons, leverage your newfound knowledge, right? Like, what did you learn? That's one of the first things that when someone comes to a call and they're going through something really awful, I always say, okay, so what did we learn, right? Once you've analyzed the setback and focused on what you've learned, those skills, that knowledge, those resources, that's going to develop you further. That's going to help you bounce back stronger so you can make adjustments to your approach, to your strategy. You have to take time to reframe. And then when you do that, you're developing resiliency. When we picked the name The Resilient Realtor is because we were looking for a word that really kind of focused on, like, stuff happens. This job is simple, but it's not easy. Real estate is actually pretty simple, and people confuse simplicity with easiness. Real estate is not easy. Being a real estate agent is not easy. It's pretty simple though. It's a numbers game. The fundamentals are pretty simple to do. That doesn't make them easy to do. So remember, setbacks often test our resilience and the ability to adapt. That's one of the things I look for when I'm bringing an agent onto the team is how adaptable are they, right? I would love it if every day, like, I could just plan it and everything went to my time blocks and no issues came up, but that's just not real estate. So by reframing setbacks and learning from them, you're basically cultivating an attitude of resilience, and you're building your mental strength. You're building your mental fortitude so that you can overcome future challenges, right? So embrace the mindset that setbacks are temporary. This is just temporary. It's not permanent. This is not how it's always going to be. Be flexible and be open to change. Adjust your plans when you need to. So now that we've reframed, what are we going to do with that? Step 4 is about feedback. In the face of setbacks, it's important to seek feedback. And I would say that first go to your trusted colleagues, like, who are your peers that are actually doing what it is that you want to do, not the energy sucking vampires. Go to your peers, go to your coaches, surround yourself with a network of trusted advisors that have experience and can, tell you and give you perspective and advice. Their insights can provide you, a lot of growth opportunities. And if they give you constructive feedback, it's a valuable tool for growth. Sometimes it's hard to hear. In fact, I was on a call yesterday. We're all going through this training class. I was on a call yesterday and I felt like half of the class had come to the call without doing the homework. And I couldn't believe that. All of us had paid a lot of money to be in this class and everybody was full of excuses. So I gave some tough feedback. I basically said, if you pay to be in the room, right? When someone gives you feedback, use it as an opportunity to refine your skills, to change your strategy, be open-minded and receptive to that feedback because it can propel you forward and potentially prevent you from experiencing that setback again. The feedback, though, just shouldn't focus on areas of improvement. It should also be encouragement and motivation, right? So positive feedback to remind you, again, of where you're going and where you came from, that can be really helpful. And that kind of brings into the fact that with feedback, maybe you should consider getting an accountability partner, right? Find someone that can help hold you responsible, someone that can understand, that you tell your goals and they can say, hey, your goals are not in line with your actions. You should get your actions together, right? Maybe even check in with them once a week. I know Antonio on here runs a call session in the mornings, Monday through Fridays. That's part of his journey and his accountability. Make sure that if you want to get in on that, just, pop in with him because he is really focused on helping agents make more calls and he's doing that Zoom session. So think about putting in a partner for accountability. And then also, like with that feedback, should you be seeking out some sort of professional and personal development? Like what books should you be reading? What webinars should you be going to? What events or coaching sessions should you be, right? Engage in the resources that are going to broaden your knowledge so you can gain new ideas and stay updated with, everything that's going on in our industry. Continuous learning and self-improvement are key to bouncing back stronger from setbacks. So I can't move on from this topic, though, without talking about numbers, without talking about key performance indicators, right? So if we're getting feedback and, we're developing ourselves and we're going to learn from this, we also need to identify the relevant KPIs, key performance indicators, right? Determine the key metrics that are aligned with your goals and measure that. That's like know your numbers, basic stuff, know your numbers. So what numbers should we be looking at? Well, it kind of depends on the setback. Like if you're not hitting your real estate goals, maybe you should be looking at the number of conversations you're having, the number of appointments, right? Like figure out what's going to move the needle. And once you figure out what those KPIs are going to be, utilize that data for self-evaluation. Right? That idea of get 1% better, you versus you. Use the data that you collect from your KPIs to evaluate your performance, right? Look at the trends, look at the patterns, figure out what the correlations are, see what the gaps are, right? That self-evaluation is also feedback that's not subjective, right? It's actual feedback based on your performance. So don't forget that when you are kind of going through and learning from the experience. The last step from bouncing back from feedback is to take action. This is where I see agents falter all the time. You have to take action. After experiencing setbacks, taking action is a crucial step towards bouncing back stronger. It's time to recommit to your goals, like revisit your plan, kind of regroup, and execute with renewed determination. So how do you do that? Step 1 of that is review and recalibrate your plan. Like take a fresh look at your plan. Assess the relevance. Like, with one of our clients today, we were talking about something that she was implementing. And I actually said to her, I was like, sometimes you have to slow down to go faster, right? Like don't overcommit. So looking at your plan, recalibrate. By recalibrating your plan, you're basically going to ensure that it aligns with your current circumstances and it's setting you on that path towards success. Once you recalibrate and review your plan, now you need to break it down into manageable steps. You have to remember that overwhelm, or the feeling of overwhelm, can hinder progress, especially when you are experiencing setbacks. Like, to be overwhelmed and to be experiencing a setback, you've got to break that plan down into smaller, actionable items. This allows you to tackle things one task at a time, and it makes the journey much more manageable and, for sure, less daunting. So when you're doing that, again, you're revising. Get with your accountability partner. Let them know where you're at right now, right? Let them know where you're at. Get their support. Put together some form of weekly check-in. Find a way to engage others in your plan. And, sometimes you'll do more. Like Antonio and I have talked about this, like, you'll do more for someone else than you will for yourself. So by having the right kind of accountability partners, you'll show up even if your motivation wanes, right? Even if you're just not feeling it today. I love what Tim Grover said. He's an author and a performance coach for many of the world's renowned athletes. He said, never post to zero, right? Like, if you can't do the full 30-minute workout, you can do a push-up. You can do a burpee. Like, you can do something. James Clear says the same things. Like, if you can't do as much as you planned, do something. Never post to zero. That's where having accountability and an accountability partner and a process to review those numbers really comes in help to getting into action. You've got to monitor the action that you're taking as well. Remember, if you're not looking at, that, you're just going to be maybe lulled into a false sense of security. So as you execute on your revised plan, you need to monitor your progress and kind of keep following those steps. Regularly evaluate your activity and your outcomes, right? Go back to those KPIs. Make adjustments as you need to. Action is the catalyst to progress and change. So embrace the revised plan and get into massive action. One of my favorite quotes from Zig Ziglar, he says, you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Don't get stuck in plan mode. Don't get stuck in tomorrow, I'll do this. Oh, I'm busy, right? Like, don't get distracted. Get into action. Like, that's one of the key things that you need to do. So let me summarize. This class apparently is going to be super fast. I will open it up for time to have some Q&A. But so remember, when you're facing problems, when you're experiencing setbacks, step one, it's a natural part of the real estate journey. So acknowledge where you're at. Give it the 5-10 minute funeral that you need to. It's just part of your professional pursuit and part of your growth. The second part is you've got to embrace your emotions and practice self-encouragement. Don't focus on the negative. Don't beat yourself up, because step 3 is all about reframing those setbacks and learning from them, right? Shift your perspective. See setbacks as a valuable lesson that can equip you for future success. Then you got to get that feedback and support and look at your numbers, right? Surround yourself with people that can help encourage you, mentors that can teach you, people that will give you constructive criticism. Set yourself up for success with knowing the numbers that you need to do to hit your goals, right? And then get into action. Take massive amount of action, more action than you think that you need to. As you review and recalibrate your plan, break it down into manageable steps and execute with a growth mindset. Focus on getting 1% better each day. As you stay focused on your goals and celebrate your small wins, you are going to see yourself bouncing back stronger. So remember, setbacks don't have to hold you back. Stay resilient and keep striving for success. You will be successful in your real estate journey. So with the chat open, let's talk about what are things that you guys are doing right now to help you stay in a positive mindset? Like, when things happen to you, what are some of the things that you guys are doing to bounce back even stronger? I'd love to see that. While the comments are coming in, I'll share with you guys, and I've shared with a lot of you guys before, some of the things that I personally do is I practice gratitude. So in the morning, I write down 10 things that I'm grateful for. And the reason I do 10 is because I used to do 5, and 5 wasn't enough. I could bullshit my way through 5 gratitudes, but 10 gratitudes allowed me to really start to get through there. So I do my 10 gratitudes, and right after I do my 10 gratitudes, I know it sounds weird, but I go right into affirmation mode. I start to program my brain for what I need to be, who I want to be, coaching myself as the, it's like that quote that I shared from James Clear, like, as the player that you want to be, not the player you currently are. So I talk to myself and I write down 10 affirmations, and I say to things like, I am a great listing agent. I convert online leads at a high level. I show up and I make progress on my goals every day. That's one that I say. I make progress on my goals every day. I go after what I want, right? I am healthy. I tell you 10 affirmations. So 10 gratitudes, 10 affirmations. And then I just write down my top 10 goals. So I'm going in and I'm looking at, like, today, it might just be don't eat a donut, right? But then I'm also looking at, like, what's my passive income goal? I want to write a book, right? That's one of my goals. I want to write a book. And Kelsey and I are launching an Etsy store for all of our cool ideas to be able to share with you guys. And that's in there. We created a company called Sparkles and Spectacles, where we can share systems and process and all of these things that we can share. So I write down those top 10 goals. That's one of the ways that I overcome setbacks. So gratitude, affirmations, and going over my goals. So someone here says, I journal in the morning and do a devotion. It gets me in the right mindset to start my day. Absolutely, right? Like, these little things make a difference. When I'm not practicing gratitude and affirmation and goals, I can find myself go into a negative rut. Like, you know what I mean? It can happen. So these little things really do stack up. That could be that you read a good book, right? Like, reading a good book can also do that. Listening to something positive, like a podcast or a book. I know that Bonnie, she lives in Florida and she walks on the beach. Walking on the beach recharges her, grounds her, helps her get over anything that she's going through. So I'll end it with this. Remember, you're not alone. Oh, she says, I do my affirmations in a poem and also do Tony Robbins gratitude exercise before I even get out of bed. I love that. Thank you, Bonnie, for sharing that, right? You just have to remember, you're not alone in this. Setbacks are a normal part of the journey. You get to choose your attitude, how you show up, and how you perform. So I always tell my kids, what you focus on expands. If you're focusing on negativity, if you're focusing on defeat, if you're focusing on everything that's dragging you down, you'll just see and get more of that. But if you start to reframe and you start to refocus, and you don't have a 5-day funeral, but you have that 5-minute funeral we talked about, you will bounce back even stronger. Okay? Many people are succeeding in real estate right now, and you can as well. You just have to work your way out of it. There's no secret sauce. There's no, fast track to success. It just takes work. See, people say, well, what's working in this market? And I heard another coach say this, and he says, it's working. And it's absolutely right. What's working in this real estate market is working. Just do the work. Work your way out of the bad attitude. I've never left the gym in a bad attitude. In fact, if I'm being fully honest, this morning, I did not want to do the workout. We were doing like a bazillion sit-up ball tosses, and I knew that my butt was going to hurt, but I did the workout. And as I walked out, I was like, I feel so much better. I feel so good, right? You're never going to regret doing that prospecting session. You're never going to regret going to the gym. If you're not in the mindset that you need to be, work your way out of it. Okay? Remember, setbacks do not have to hold you back. Stay resilient and keep striving for success. Best of luck this week on your real estate journey.